Methodology. One of the primary questions we get when it comes to web application penetration testing, including mobile applications and APIs, is about what methodology we use. Of course, it's natural for people to wonder how we are going to go about testing their assets. And somewhat surprisingly, it can be hard to get this kind of information from your pen testers. Or sometimes they will point you to a large standard and just say that they use that. But we think it's really important for you to understand the flow and stages of a typical test for us. And while our testing methodology pulls some of the most important aspects from each industry accepted standard, we also think it is important to customize the process and put it across in a way that our clients and partners can understand. As a rule, our application level penetration testing consists of unauthenticated and authenticated testing using both automated and manual methods, with particular emphasis on identifying vulnerabilities associated with the OWASP top 10 critical application vulnerabilities. It is important to note that a penetration test is not just an automated vulnerability scan, but it is a large portion of web application penetration testing, which is a manual process with a skilled engineer attempting to identify, exploit, and evaluate the associated risk of security issues. Moving on to the stages of penetration testing, the overall web application penetration testing process can be broken down into 5 primary stages, each of which has several sub-stages. There are 5 stages of penetration testing: planning and reconnaissance, scanning, then there is gaining access, maintaining access, and the final one being covering the tracks. Let's start with the first stage, that is planning and reconnaissance. The first stage involves defining the scope and goals of a test, including the systems to be addressed and the testing methods to be used. Therefore, planning and reconnaissance is really important. Now let's discuss how. Planning before testing starts, it is advised to plan what types of testing will be performed, how the testing will be performed, and determine if QA needs any additional access to tools. Before commencing testing, testers must acquire a comprehensive understanding of the environment they will be working in. This step should ensure to give them an understanding of firewalls or other security protocols which would be required to be disabled to perform the testing. Browsers to be tested should be converted into an attack platform, usually done by changing the proxies. Now let's get an understanding about reconnaissance. Information gathering or reconnaissance phase is the most important step in any penetration testing process, as it provides you with a wealth of information to identify vulnerabilities easily and exploit them later. Information gathering and getting to know the target system is the first process in ethical hacking. Reconnaissance is a part of processes and techniques, footprinting, scanning, and enumeration used to covertly discover and collect information about a target system. During reconnaissance, an ethical hacker attempts to gather as much as information about a target system as possible. Think of this phase as the foundation for a pyramid you are trying to build. There are 2 types of reconnaissance depending on the types of interaction you want to achieve with the target system: active reconnaissance and passive reconnaissance. So let's begin with active reconnaissance first. The type of reconnaissance involves direct interaction with the target system or network. It includes port scanning, vulnerability scanning, probing, and network fingerprinting. Active reconnaissance can be more easily detected by the target security measures, as it leaves traces in the system logs. Moving on to passive reconnaissance. In passive reconnaissance, the attacker gathers information about the target system or network without directly interacting. This can be done by monitoring publicly available information, analyzing social media profiles, reading public documents, or gathering information from gathering information about from the open source intelligence tools. Passive reconnaissance is typically harder to detect because it does not involve directly probing or scanning the target. The second stage involves scanning. The next step is to understand how the target application will respond to various intrusion attempts. This is typically done using static analysis and dynamic analysis. Now let's begin with static analysis, inspecting an application's code to estimate the way it behaves while running. These tools can scan the entirety of the code in a single pass. Moving on to the dynamic analysis, inspecting an application's code in a running state. This is a more practical way of scanning as it provides a real-time view of an application's performance. Our third is our stage, that is gaining access. This stage uses web application attacks such as cross-site scripting, SQL injection, and backdoors to uncover a target's vulnerabilities. Testers then try and exploit these vulnerabilities, typically by escalating privileges, stealing data, intercepting traffic to understand the damage they can cause. The fourth stage includes maintaining access. The goal of this stage is to see if vulnerability can be used to achieve a persistent presence in the exploited system, long enough for a bad actor to gain in-depth access. The idea is to imitate advanced persistent threats which often remain in a system for months in order to steal an organization's most sensitive data. And the last stage is analysis or covering tracks. The results of the penetration test are then compiled into a report detailing the following: specific vulnerabilities that were exploited, sensitive data that was accessed, the amount of time the penetration tester was able to remain in the system undetected. This information is analyzed by a security personnel to help configure an enterprise's WAF settings and other application security solutions to patch vulnerabilities and protect against future attacks.